The Spurs lost in the 2025 NBA Cup Finals versus the Knicks. Let's see what happened, what went wrong, and what is the bright side of losing?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back, and by the way, happy Wednesday. Hope y'all are feeling a little better by now after the Spurs lost to the New York Knicks in the 2025 NBA Cup Finals, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be reacting to what went wrong in Las Vegas. Did some things go right on the court? So we're look at what happened, why did the Spurs lose, and the bright side of losing. Yeah, there actually is a bright side to all of this. And hope y'all will stick around to hear what we got to say about that and so much more. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You want to go to get Game Time right now. So download that app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast. iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube. And by the way, thanks for making the Locked On Podcast Network #1 in the nation. We definitely appreciate that. Hey, yeah, so by now y'all know Spurs lost. Didn't end well for the Spurs in Las Vegas after having an amazing run to the NBA Cup Finals. There was a lot of – it was weird because there was a lot of good that the Spurs did for 3 quarters, and then something went wrong. And there were a lot of concerning stuff that happened. So let's talk about that and more with our guest. He is back, everybody, Mr. Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He's on X at Dominguez5. Follow him right now. And Raul, man, tough way for the Spurs to end their NBA Cup road, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, like you mentioned, so many positives, but it's always, even though this was sort of an in-season tournament, Spurs fans and the Spurs, wanted to win this one. So it almost feels like a playoff loss, It's like, there's no more. So, it's understandable why Spurs fans are down and, feel bad about this one.
Yeah, and before we get into that, credit the NBA and the Silver. This tournament in just a short time has become a thing. It's a thing. It's like almost like a destination now. You're not in Las Vegas for the Cup. What's wrong with you? That's what it feels like. You feel like you're missing out right now. And it definitely, the NBA definitely injected a lot of playoff vibes to it, even though we all know it's a game that didn't count on the records. The stats don't count as well. If I don't get that right, Raul, the stats.
Yeah, the stats don't count. They counted for the previous games, but for the final, it does not count. Stats do not count.
Yeah, and by the way, the Spurs are still 18.
As far as like for the season, stats don't count. So.
Yeah, exactly. And the Spurs are still 18-7, by the way. That loss did not go against their record as well. But nevertheless, overall, it was a good thing that the NBA did. I hope they reconsider having the semis in the host city of the better record team. I think staying in Las Vegas is a good thing, but we'll talk about that maybe down the road, maybe next year when the Spurs do another run to the Cup. But yeah, 124-113, Spurs lose to the Knicks. Yeah, I can't party like it's 1999, unfortunately. But I want to start off with the good, Raul. And what I liked is that they looked a little shaky to start. It looked like maybe there were some nerves there, but they shook it out pretty fast, actually built a double-figure lead. And, again, they did a bulk of that with Wemby on the bench. Again, he was on a minutes restriction. He did not start. He came off the bench for at least a good half and some change coming out of the halftime. It looked like the Spurs were in control, that they were going to win.
Yeah, I did. I mean, there was a couple of times I think they had don't remember if they had already had a double-digit lead or whatever, but it seemed like they were on the verge of starting to break it open. But, they'd miss an open shot. They'd have an open three-pointer or maybe a drive to the basket, and they just weren't able to hit that. And then New York would seem like they'd go down, they hit a three, and all of a sudden a 10-point lead was 7 and kind of kept whittling it down. But there was a couple of times where it just felt like the Spurs were about to break it open, and they just couldn't do it.
Yeah, they couldn't do it. And they actually scored 30 or more points in the first and second period. In the first, they scored 30, and in the second, they scored 31. However, they allowed 31 points for the Knicks in the second period. Again, we'll get to the ugly in a little while. But a lot of the good stuff that I saw in that first half, you saw again that depth playing a big role in them building up that lead before it fell apart. You had Devin Vassell with 12 points in the first half. You had Luke Cornett. I joked with the New York station podcast show that, Luke Cornett was going to be my X Factor. And I was like, oh, my God, I guess he is going to be the X Factor because he was really doing a lot of the dirty work, cleaning up a lot of the mess, scoring within, getting a lot of the alley-oop dunks from Castle or just the players themselves. So you're getting contributions from everybody. 6 points from Harrison Barnes, 8 points from Dylan Harper off the bench. Again, once they get clicking and once they can play a complete game, this team is deep. At least for the first half, they showed that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I mean, it seemed like you got contributions from everyone. Having Castle sort of lead that first unit and then Harper coming in and, them not losing much of a beat when Harper came in. Just all seemed to work well. It seemed like everything was sort of meshing well. Actually, through the first 3 quarters, it seemed like things were going really well for them. Just fourth quarter, just wheels fell off.
Yeah, he's got a good point there. The Spurs, again, that's another good thing they did. They won the third period, 33-30. But in that third period, again, everything seemingly was humming. You knew the Knicks were going to make a charge. All NBA teams do that. It's just the way it is in the NBA. But the Spurs were connected on 41% of their shots in that third period. They connected on 5 of 9 3-pointers. So that was really, really good. And they only had 1 turnover in that third period. And by the way, in that first half, they only had, if I got this right here, make sure I get it right, 4 turnovers. All signs were pointing to the Spurs were going to pull it out. They were going to pull it out. Wemby came in. He injected a lot of energy. The fans were into it. The TV announcers were into it. And again, that first half, he had 4 points. He had 4 rebounds. He only had 1 turnover, but he had a steal. He's making us a couple of shots there. It was all good, but I kept on thinking, like, man, New York is going to do something. New York can do something. They're 18-7 for a reason. They won 4 games straight heading into that cup game. They were hovering around, and I'm trying to not harp on the negative. We're going to harp on the negative in the second segment here. But Raul, was there anything else you saw positive in this game?
I think one of the big positives for me was seeing Castle just sort of embrace the moment. I mean, Castle was playing well defensively. I mean, he was really just dogging Brunson defensively. He was picking him up full court, and then after he did that, he would go and drive on the offensive end. So it's like he was expending a lot of energy on both ends, but he never seemed to get tired. He kept playing full force on both ends, so that was a huge positive. Dylan Harper also showed that he's not scared of that moment either. He played well defensively. He had I think it was the third quarter, fourth quarter, had a great defensive play on Jalen Brunson, who's just one of the game's best point guards. Great ball handler. Dylan forced him into a backcourt violation just with his pressure defense. So I think the positives are you see that Castle and Harper both embrace the pressure, and that's going to be big for the Spurs. Come postseason, 2 young players that seem like they are seeking that pressure and that they're going to thrive in that pressure as well.
Yeah, exactly. From periods 1 through 3, Raul, before the fourth started, the Spurs had the edge in second chance points. They had the edge 26-19. So they were capitalizing on those extra possessions, the extra attempts at the basket. So everything was humming for the Spurs. Everything was going well. You mentioned contributions for everybody, check. Shooting the ball well, check. At the end of the third period, Raul, they were at 40. No, I'll get this right. No, they were at 45% shooting from the field. And again, minimal turnovers. Again, through 3 periods, they only had 5 turnovers. And again, contributions. You had at that point now, Harper has 15 going into the final frame. Wemby has 16. You had De'Aaron Fox, who came alive in that third period. He had 15 points going into the fourth period as well. So again, everything was going great. You saw that was the other good thing I liked for a while was De'Aaron Fox really showed the team coming out of the halftime. And I thought that was really, really good. Everything was humming, but what went wrong? And that's what we're going to talk about. Coming up next, right here on Locked On Spurs with Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He's on next at Dominguez Cinco. Make sure to follow him right now. When Skims announced that they're making underwear for men, the reaction made perfect sense. People have been talking about Skims comfort for years. Most guys, those stick to whatever they've been buying since college. The same fits, the same waistbands, and that roll, and a whole lot of settling. Hey, Skims Men's changes that. One upgrade, and it's obvious why everyone's been talking. But once you'll try Skims Men's underwear, look, you're going to get the hype immediately. Hey, they're designed to feel good, fit right, and actually stay put. No slipping, no sagging, no adjusting, just genuinely great underwear that makes you feel comfortable and confident. My favorite pair, well, gotta be the Cotton 5. Yeah, they got so much, from the Stretch 5 to the Cotton 3, Stretch 3, Boxer Brief, they got it all. What stood out right away was the fit in the fabric, soft, supportive, and comfortable all day. They don't ride up, they don't lose their shape, they hit exactly where they're supposed to on the thigh. And honestly, I didn't expect underwear to be a game changer, but Skims completely surprised me. Shop Skims Men right now at skims.com. And when you place your order, choose podcast in the post-purchase survey and select our show from the drop-down to let them know that we sent you. Plus, the Skims holiday shop is open. So if you're looking for the perfect gift this season, Skims has you covered. Thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Spurs with no interruptions, members only, Discord access, and so much more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Check the link in the show notes to learn more. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by the man, the legend, Mr. Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He's on X at Dominguez Cinco. Follow him right now. We're talking about what happened in Las Vegas last night as your San Antonio Spurs lost in the NBA Cup Finals to the New York Knicks, 124-113. So, Raul, everything was going right for the Spurs, but then the wheels came off in that fourth frame. Only managed to score 19 points in that fourth period, and they could not buy a bucket. Again, they went cold. What did you see go wrong for the Spurs in the fourth?
Spurs weren't scored. They only scored 19 points, but there was open shots. They were good looks. They just weren't falling. For whatever reason, they weren't falling. So New York was applying a lot of pressure defensively, and
were they?
Were very active. But Spurs still had their opportunities. They still had good looks. Either good looks or open looks, and then they just weren't making the shots, and they were still driving to the basket, and those drives were contested, but they were making contested drives earlier. They just weren't going in the final quarter. And I was looking at the stats, and I know it seems like New York had a lot of second chance points against the Spurs, but I'm looking at it. Knicks had 32 second chance points. Spurs had 28, so it was fairly even. But the Knicks got the second chance points at critical times. Spurs would play well defensively, and then Pop always talked about closing out a defensive set. It's not just about stopping the shot; it's about getting the rebound and eliminating that possession. Spurs play great defensively. New York would get a offensive rebound, and then they would get a bucket. So, that negated all the hard work they did prior to that defensively. So, that really hurt them, the offensive rebounds. And also what kind of hurt the Spurs was when Towns went down. And I don't mean any offense to Towns. I mean, Towns is a great player, but Mitchell Robinson is such a workhorse, and he was just crashing the boards, he was. That's all he was trying to do, was just trying to get offensive rebounds. So when Towns came out and Mitchell, got some extended minutes, he made the most of them. I mean, he was just absolutely killed the Spurs on the rebounds, especially, critical rebounds. Like I said, when Spurs would have a great defensive play and, Mitchell would get a offensive rebound and just completely reset the Knicks offense. That really hurt the Spurs. Mitchell really hurt the Spurs.
Yeah, he did. In that fourth period, Mitchell Robinson he was a plus 10 for the Knicks. He had 8 rebounds and 2 assists, and he had of those 8 rebounds, 6 were offensive rebounds. So he definitely was punching the Spurs on the offensive rebounding boards. Now, I mentioned earlier that the Spurs shot 35% in the second half, but we're looking at the fourth period alone. They only went 5 for 19 from the field in the fourth, 26%. They just went ice cold. 3 for 10 from the 3 line in the fourth period, and they got out-rebounded in that fourth period. Whew. Ready for this? 23-6. 23-6 in the fourth period. Ultimately, for me, Raul, and just you don't need a stat sheet. You don't need any of that. Who wanted it more? And the Knicks looked like they wanted it more. There was a play where Vassell fell to the ground with the ball, and you saw Towns and Hart jump on him to try to wrestle the ball away from him. You mentioned Mitchell Robinson, those offensive rebounds. Those kind of plays are effort plays, and the Knicks had more effort than the Spurs in that fourth period. Mitch Johnson, after the game, even said it himself that the Spurs contributed to the Knicks win. Said they were the ones, the Spurs that is, that weren't making the right plays, weren't making the right decisions, and they led to the Knicks getting the win and the Cup final title there. In that fourth period, too, everybody who played, Raul, was a minus in the plus-minus column. Yeah. Everybody, including Victor Wembanyama, he was a minus 14 in that fourth period. I know it's a Cup game. We know the stats don't count. Luckily for the Spurs, they don't count. That was a quarter you want to forget. But Raul, are you seeing what happened in the fourth quarter collapse? Is that just one of those games where every team's going to have that bad period at the worst time? Or do you think this is a little concerning as the season moves forward?
I don't think it's concerning because the Spurs have a chance to sort of ride it. I mean, they still have more than half the season to go.
Oh, yeah.
But what I think it shows is how valuable playoff and postseason experience is, because the Knicks have gone through this before. The past, 2 or 3 postseasons, Knicks have had some hellacious battles in the East. I think they've gone to a couple of game sevens, I think it was last season, I believe. And that helps them. You could see that in the fourth quarter that they were comfortable in those pressure situations. You can tell that something that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to keep bringing up Pop's name, but Pop would always talk about valuing each possession, in the postseason. And it seemed like New York was really bearing down on that. Every possession was important, offensively and defensively. They were all, charging toward the glass. They were all, like you mentioned, the tying up Vassell, like they were really just charging toward the Spurs. So I think the Spurs, I don't know if they weren't used to it or whatever, but they didn't rise to the challenge in the same way that the Knicks did. I don't think it's as concerning. Obviously, if this was the postseason, and they lose game 1 like this,
right.
or they lose it on the verge of being eliminated, then you obviously worry. But I think this sort of gives them a blueprint on what they need to do in order to move forward. And then also, just want to say real quickly, also the thing is, I think people also have to realize this is what the third game where everyone on the Spurs roster has been available. So they're still that used, getting used to each other, and Victor wasn't playing his normal minutes that that he's going to play. So I don't think it's concerning unless the Spurs don't learn from this, and I don't see how Mitch and Wemby don't learn from this.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a disastrous fourth period. The Spurs, I believe, they did it to themselves. This was a game they should have won. Now, it was going to be a scrappy game, and it was. It really was. It was close for a while, at least for a good chunk of the game until the Knicks started to blow things out. But again, self-inflicted wounds. You saw Castle in an inbounds play after winning the challenge, Coach Mitch's challenge, turn the ball over, throw the ball right to a Knicks player. That didn't help. Rush shots. I saw Wemby rushing some shots at times. I mean, Wemby, what are you doing? You know, your shot clock hasn't even started yet. You're already like 3 seconds in and you're shooting the ball. There was a lot of blame to go around, and Mitch Johnson highlighted that after the game. He said that this was a team loss because somebody asked him, Wemby didn't have a Wemby game, see the blame, and he was like, no, everybody bleeped up in the game in that fourth period, and I want to look at the stats here again. In that fourth period, not one Spur scored in double figures, which I get, they're bad, but Devin Vassell, he only took one field goal attempt. That was it. He went 0 for 1 in 9 minutes.
Yeah,
Harrison Barnes 0 for 2. But go ahead about Vassell.
No, I was just going to say just real quick. Yeah, and you mentioned that, and then Barnes, Fox, and Wemby were combined 0 for 9. That's not going to happen all the time. But if 3 of your big scorers are 0 for 9, I mean, you're not going to win. I don't care who you're playing. You're not going to win any game. So
yeah, exactly. Now, Spurs only had 3 turnovers in that fourth period, but again, they were just like the worst time. I mentioned, the Castle inbounds play, not the worst time. All the momentum was going towards New York, and leave it to the hometown kid, Jordan Clarkson, was the one that helped rally the Knicks. He hit a pair of threes, brought a lot of energy. I think he blocked a Spur on a play defensively. He was really being a pest for, I guess, his hometown team, the Spurs. But again, he came out with that will to want to win. And a lot of the Knicks did, even after Towns got hurt for a while and he was sidelined for a bit. You saw the momentum just shift dramatically. It was like a snap of the fingers. Third period is over, fourth period began, and boom, here we go. I think the Knicks went on like a 13-2 run at one point on San Antonio. Yeah. And look, it's a loss. I get it. It stings right now. I mean, Spurs fans are honking downtown on Calmer Street after the Spurs win over the Thunder in the semifinals. I wonder what it would have been like last night if the Spurs had won the game. But lessons learned. That's what ultimately comes down to, lessons learned. And by the way, before we hit the break, leading up to the game, I kept on being asked, Jeff, what matchups you're looking for? It's got to be Brunson Castle or Cat Wemby, and I kept saying no. I'm watching out for Anunoby, Hart, and Bridges. And Bridges to some extent hurt the Spurs, but mainly Hart and Anunoby were the ones really doing a lot of the damage. Anunoby, we all say that he's a good defender, and he is, but man, I forget how much of a scorer he can be. And Josh Hart just was bringing a lot of that heart on that court, and ultimately they were the pair of guys that really hurt the Spurs. You got anything to say before we hit the break?
Yeah, I was just going to say, not to question any coaching decision, but I was a little surprised that Keldon didn't play more in the fourth. Keldon brings so much fire, and he's a guy that'll crash the boards, and he always seems to hit big shots when you need him. He only played a minute 33.
A minute, that's it.
In the fourth quarter, and if nothing else, just his energy. I mean, Keldon would have been hitting the floor. Keldon would have been, trying to draw charges. Keldon would have been, maybe probably hitting the threes, and just his energy, just his intensity, I think would have helped them out in the fourth, because they did look a little lost at times in the fourth. And
the physicality that he would have brought, because New York was physical with the Spurs. There was a play in that first period. They were trying to set this tone with Wemby. You saw Cat shove Wemby to the floor. There was no call. You saw them really crashing the boards and throwing their body out there and ramming it to Spurs players. And it was like, get out of my way. We want that ball more than you do. So I think Keldon would have helped. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Keldon Keldon loves that physicality. So, he would have embraced that. He would have been going right back at him. So I was a little surprised he didn't play more.
Yeah, me too. I was a little surprised as well. All right, so we got that out of the way, everybody. All right, so the Spurs lost, and it sucks, but you got to move on, right? But before they do, are there actually some good things about losing into a Cup Finals? We're gonna talk about that coming up next, right here on Locked On Spurs with Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He's on X at Dominguez Cinco. Follow me on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone. Let's talk about Game Time World Cup draw. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets usually is going to be the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets in the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. Pull up the app and the layout. It'll make it so simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views. Pick a game, tap a section. You have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. The seat view feature is a game changer. You'll literally see what the pitch looks like from your exact seat before you buy. Prices include fees up front, which you're going to love. No last second surprises at checkout. And you get alerts for teams and matches that make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets with every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, Game Time. Nobody knows money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of money with tools that work as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, breathing your PR, beating it again, channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, option, futures, and crypto all in one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop. Robinhood's Legend Advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He's on next at Dominguez5. Follow him ASAP. We're talking about what happened last night in Las Vegas. Spurs came up short for any NBA Cup trophy coming to San Antonio, maybe next year. 124-113, Spurs on the bad end of that score. But Raul, you were kind of already alluding it to in the second segment there. Good things coming out of a loss. Yes, You're not Spurs fans. There are some good things coming out of this loss, and one of the biggest things is the arc, the trajectory that Dylan Harper's in. Now, he led the team with 23 points. It was him making some clutch shots. It was him attacking the rim. It was him keeping the Spurs as close as possible and also getting it done defensively. Called Jalen Brunson to do an over and back, and he got pumped for it. That was one of the bigger shining lights in the loss.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like I was looking at the stats again in the fourth quarter, and Harper and Castle were combined 4 for 7 in the fourth quarter. So, their ability to drive, and they actually did well in the 3-pointers as well. Castle was 1 for 2 on threes, and Harper was 2 for 2 on threes. So I think their ability to drive sort of allowed them to get some get those 3-pointers as well. They both look really good. Again, I think it's really promising for the Spurs. And once you get in these crunch games and a lot of physicality, you're going to need someone that's going to be able to get a bucket. That's going to be able to drive into the lane and get a bucket. And Castle and Harper have proven that they can do that. And you need that, especially in crunch time in the postseason. Because there's also going to be times when you drive to the basket and you get fouled and they're not going to call it. So you still got to finish that play, and both of them have proven that they can finish plays even with heavy contact.
Yeah, that was just a bright spot. Seeing Harper really rise to the occasion in a game where, as a rookie, you would think they would maybe just be a little timid. I get it. We get it. It's not a playoff game. This wasn't a playoff series. It was a cup game, and not to discount it, but everybody was competitive out there, and I think he got a healthy dose of some real on-the-job training. What it's like to play in a game where there is some significance, and in the cup game there was a lot of money, but of course bragging rights and some pride. So they learned that too. Overall, too, another good thing about a loss is the road to that cup finals. Sure, they lost to the Knicks. Everybody, I get it, but if you had told me that, hey, Jeff, the Spurs are going to get to the NBA Cup Finals, and by the way, on that road, they're going to beat Denver in Denver with Joker, They're going to go to Los Angeles with Reeves, Luka, and LeBron playing, and they're going to beat them in their court. And by the way, they're going to take down the seemingly invincible Thunder en route to the Cup Finals. I think that is a tremendous thing that the Spurs did in this Cup tournament, is beating the big boys in the conference that they play in. Raul, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, and also, they made it through the group. What do they call it? The group of death. I mean, it wasn't, it's not just Spurs fans or whatever. I mean, this was regarded as a group of death before it even started. You had, Denver, who was it?
Golden
Denver,
State
Houston, Golden State, Portland. Everyone regarded this Spurs group as the toughest one in the Cup. They made it through that. Like you mentioned, beat a great Denver team. And then, they played the Lakers, who were favored. They're playing in LA. Lakers are favored. You have Doncic, you have James, and you have all the hype surrounding that. I mean, it was like, if TV had their way, Lakers would have gone all the way just for the ratings. But they beat them, and they beat them, pretty convincingly. And then they play just an absolutely fantastic Oklahoma City team, and that felt like a playoff game. There was a lot of animosity, a lot of pressure, a lot of clutch shots, a lot of really good moments. So they won that one as well, and that was huge for them. And then they were doing really well against New York and just sort of fell apart in the fourth quarter. But all of it felt like a playoff series. From them, needing to win out after they lost to Golden State, and they did that. Needing to win LA to keep going, they did that. Needing to beat Oklahoma City, they did that. So this is as close as you can. This is as close as you can get to a playoff game without actually playing a playoff game. It's going to help Wemby. It's going to help this young roster. De'Aaron's only played 7 playoff games in his career. So they needed this. This type of pressure just to kind of get a taste of what it's like in the postseason. So like, again, this is obviously isn't the postseason, but the NBA did a great job of hyping this up, and it felt like a playoff game.
No, it really did. And by the way, that path to the NBA Cup Finals, if you also were to tell me they're going to do that at least without Wemby and Castle for the Denver game, and Wemby again without, he's on the sideline. And by the way, even against the Thunder, he ain't going to play. Well, I'm sorry, I should rephrase that. He's coming off the bench. He's going to be limited minutes. I would have been, no, you're full of BS right now. There ain't no way they're going to do it. And they did that. So that is a big, big silver lining in this NBA Cup Finals loss, is that the road to the finals proved that this team is a team to deal with in the Western Conference. There are a team that you can't circle on your calendar anymore. It's like, well, that's a win. Nope, not anymore. Not anymore. We haven't even talked about the emergence of Castle, how he's still continuing to show us how much dog he has in him. Did you see how many times he was just throwing themselves at the rebounds and like fighting for that rebound against the Knicks? And of course, throughout the season so far this season, you mentioned his shot is getting better little by little. It's definitely got a snail's pace, but it is getting better. And he got the Stan Van Gundy crush moment. I don't know if you saw that on the TV there.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, other people are starting to notice him. Who is this guy? He himself is becoming a player on the map now. So you saw his emergence come out of this cup run right now. And also, too, credit Mitch Johnson. I know Spurs fans have an issue with him considering the loss to the Knicks and maybe how that was managed. But again, he's as a rookie head coach, he's 18-7 right now, and beating those teams that we talked about in route to the finals, as well as without Wemby and Castle for a good chunk of those games. So far, post Cup tournament, he's been doing a damn good job with his team.
Yeah, and the players like him; they trust him. He think he brings the right energy to that young group. Wemby has a tremendous amount of faith and trust in him. Wemby obviously wanted to play sooner, but he put his trust in Mitch and the Spurs medical staff, and it turned out well. Like I said, I know this loss is going to stay with them for a while, but not to be rainbows and sunshine, but they really need to look at how they got there and not just the fourth quarter. So again, you look at David Adelman, the coach of the Nuggets, unprompted. They hadn't even played the Spurs. I don't remember who they had played the other night, but unprompted, he just said, hey, the Spurs are good. They're really good now.
Yeah, he did.
And then you hear all these national writers and national commentators. They're all talking about how good the Spurs are, how much fun they are to watch. So, Spurs definitely opened some eyes during this NBA Cup and specifically Harper and Castle. I mean, I remember, people
Slash Brothers.
Yep, people kept talking about, they need to trade, one of them to get Giannis, or last season it was De'Aaron, and now you're hearing everyone saying like, no, they cannot
keep them. Yeah.
So a lot of positives came out of this NBA Cup. Again, I know the ending left a bad taste in the Spurs fans' mouths, but I mean, if you don't see the upward direction that this team is going, then I don't know.
You maybe got to open your eyes a little bit wider, everybody. Yeah, exactly. And again, remember, this was not a playoff series. This was not a playoff game. It was kind of a fun thing. It's supposed to be on for a fun, kind of keep the season peppy. Adam Silver and the NBA did a damn good job of that. So again, all those stats, that bad fourth quarter doesn't go against the team, even the good stats. So it's almost a wash. It's basically an exhibition game. We really think about it. It's just an exhibition game. And but nevertheless, sure, they missed out on some big cash, and they were open about talking about the big cash. But Raul, they're only going home with a little over $200,000 in the pocket. That's all. Oh, darn it.
And I think, like I said, Adam Silver, the first year the NBA Cup, they had the NBA Cup. I know it didn't seem like it went over that well. I think it was the COVID year, wasn't it? I believe.
Good question. Yeah, I don't remember.
I think it was, but I just remember I just remember the first year it didn't go over well. People were sort of making fun of it, making fun of the Lakers for winning it. But you look at the way it's built. Been building. The knockout rounds are great because it is like a postseason where it's almost like a game 7 in the postseason. You lose one game and you're out of that, and then the money matters, especially for some of these players. On rookie contracts or maybe their deal's not as big, and it also helps the team because some of the players that are making good money, right? They want to help out their younger players or the two-way contract guys or whoever, so they want to win it for them as well because they know that it gives them a real big boost. So
sure.
It's really become just a really fun event.
Yeah,
and I think it sets up some great games down the road. I mean,
it does.
When the Spurs and OKC play again, that's going to be.
Everybody's talking about the Christmas Day game already. They're already talking about it.
Yep, that's going to be dynamic because the Oklahoma City is going to be fired up to play them. The fans are going to be fired up from both sides, and I think Spurs beating Oklahoma City sort of lit a fire, and I think it's starting this rivalry between them. Even though Oklahoma City is right now is by far the better team record wise, obviously, and then they won the championship last season, but. This rivalry, it's starting to build.
Yes, it is.
I think that Spurs beating them in the NBA Cup, like I said, I cannot wait until they play again. And then when the Spurs play the Knicks as well, that's going to be another good game. But the Thunder Spurs game, I'm sort of counting down the days until they play again.
Yeah, you don't have to wait that long. You just wait like about 10 games or something like 10 days. So you're good. Yeah, that's another good thing out of this Cup tournament. Even though it ended in a loss, is it sparked perhaps the newest Spurs rivalry, the newest NBA rivalry, Thunder Spurs. So you're absolutely right about that. Yeah, I think it's I know the Thunder fans are really, really, rubbing it in the faces of Spurs fans right now about the loss in the Cup finals. That's happening on social media. So you got the fans going at each other. You got the players kind of throwing some shade at each other. I think Wemby's kind of went at the mouth too a little bit. So it feels like he really doesn't have a lot of love for the Thunder. You can see it.
Yeah, I think it's just Wemby's competitiveness. I think he sees, that Thunder are doing well. He wants to be where the Thunder is at. He wants to win the championship. So, it's fun to see. This NBA's kind of been a lot of kumbaya. The recent years. Friends and players going from one team to another, and I can't remember the last time where it was just like teams just absolutely locking horns. And, really battling. And I think you're going to see that with the Spurs and the Thunder. Going forward.
And Raul, it's two small markets too. Two small markets in the NBA.
Yeah,
that are going to be doing this for a long time. They're both young teams, man, and they both clubs are sitting on how many stacks of draft picks. So keep on replenishing with new players every year. But everybody, it sucks the way the Spurs Cup run ended, but nevertheless, there were a lot of silver linings, even though the Spurs lost in the tournament. Raul, final thoughts. I know the Spurs, I guess this feels weird, right? Like we get back to regular season. It feels weird. It feels like the season ended. That's what it feels like. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's just odd. They've been on the road so long. I think Jordan, from the Spurs PR, had mentioned. I think he said that tonight's game was the first time the Spurs had been played a game in the same state since I think it was maybe November, maybe even before Thanksgiving. I can't remember, but they had been traveling so much that they were in town for less than 24 hours for one home game, and then they were back on the road. And then they've been in Vegas, so I think this was also good for the Spurs and sort of helped them with more of their bonding and their chemistry. But this has been an odd schedule.
It is. Yeah, and guess what, Raul? They're going to do that exact same thing. They're going to come back for the Wizards and then go back on the road again. So, same thing. I know they'll have a homestand soon, but even after that homestand, they're going to be gone again for the road trip.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. And hopefully the Spurs will just take advantage of that time on the road, coming together, gelling on and off the court, and all that good stuff. But again, your Spurs lose to the Knicks in the NBA Cup Finals 2025, 124-113. Again, as you heard right now, they'll come back home this Thursday, take on the Wizards. And then guess what, everybody? They're back on the road again.
Yeah. I was going to say just real quick, I don't know how Keldon's going to have time to get his llama, being on the road. But hopefully he maybe looks, online and purchases one online. So
what do you there's no Llamas Are Us or anything like that. And where do you go get one? I guess he's a rancher, so he probably knows other ranchers and they can link him to where he's going to get it. I don't know if you have to import that.
I don't know. I mean, unfortunately the city of San Antonio doesn't have like a stray llama shelter. So,
right. Stray llama shelter. Exactly. He is Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He's on X at Dominguez5. Raul, I'm assuming you're, again, just getting ready for the team to come back home for a game and then leave again.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's an odd schedule, but, it's been a fun season so far. And I think this NBA Cup has myself and everyone else sort of looking forward to the future because, Spurs look like they're going to be able to make at least make the playoffs and possibly make a good run in the playoffs.
Yeah. So there's a lot more to be excited about, Spurs fans. Again, we're only a little over a quarter of the season done. That's it. There's still a lot of basketball to play, including, as Raul mentioned, that game in a few days against the Thunder in Oklahoma City. That's going to be fun. And by the way, it's on Christmas Day, too. So add a little more spice to it. But Raul, thank you so much for joining us here on Locked On Spurs to look back at what happened in Las Vegas. Didn't end well, but you know what? There were some bright spots, and I'm glad we ended it on that note. Again, make sure to follow him on X at Dominguez5. Do that right now. Everybody else will be back tomorrow as the Spurs season continues. I mentioned we got the Wizards game. We got to talk about something about Giannis. Yeah, that name popped up again. You all know what we're going to talk about, all right? So we're going to be discussing that soon on this episode. Oh, tomorrow's episode, a lot more, I should say. So we got a lot to talk about. And again, make Locked On Spurs your first and only spot for all things silver and black. Subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts, such as iTunes, Spotify. You have the Kens 5 Plus app. You can get it there as well. And, Go subscribe ASAP. We need those numbers. By the way, the Everydayers Club, Locked On Podcast Network, has launched the Everydayers Club. Basically, it's access to a Discord channel, ad-free shows. If you need information, look at the notes below on this episode. You can't miss it. It says Everydayer Club. Click on that link. Go find out more. Sign up right now. So for Raul Dominguez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.